Good evening. This is Springfield Johnny, and this is the Authentic Human Being Show, live from Springfield, Oregon. Well, I just come back from seeing the movie Big Eyes, and when it was over, I could barely walk. My legs felt shaky. I was having an out-of-body experience. I had trouble walking out of the theater. I turned on my camera as I prepared to push the theater doors aside and walk into reality for the first time in, I don't know, 40 years, 30 years, ever since my Sister Christine became the world-famous artist known as ROSAMOND. It's all here. It was all there. I own credibility. See, when I tell people my story, they don't have a point of reference. They can't, say, well, this sounds so weird, it's so convoluted, I don't understand. It's fighting over art. What is that about? Well, there it is. It's your local theater. Premiered yesterday, Christmas Day, and I saw it on the 26th, and I am so friggin' free. So friggin' free. I own credibility. I will never be called insane again. I will never be labeled a parasite like my daughter did and her boyfriend. I will never be made up to be dangerous and psychotic, about ready to kill people. Because I got this strange art movie going on in my head. It's on the silver screen. Now, if my family had left me alone back there, and let's see, how long has it been? 1995. Well, our movie could have been up there. But when you see Big Eyes, you'll see a man who takes over this woman's art. He marries her, and he latches onto her like a parasite, and he consumes her identity. He even brings out a ringer, a facsimile daughter, and that was chilling. That reminded me of Heather, the facsimile daughter. I don't even want to begin to explain the parallels, because until you've seen this movie, you'll have no point of reference, and you'll just look at me and say, dingbat, crazy man. That's gone. For me, I've seen the movie. I've lived a very, very similar nightmare. Only call it a nightmare. And I wish Tim Burton would have done a better job. He really could have been more surreal with this. And I tell you, Christopher Waltz was just, he had the pull in the reins. He really, really had the pull in the reins on himself, because he really wanted to take off. What this movie should be is a one-man play, starting at Christopher Waltz. I mean, I would buy a ticket to see that on Broadway, because what we're seeing is a modern-day Hitler, a Nazi, art Nazi. Literally, And you could tell that uh, Christopher Waltz got that, because he did Inglourious Bastards. He did that Nazi. I mean, he knew what this guy. He knew what Walter Keane was, Nazi. The Nazis went around and looted all the world's art and brought it back to Berlin on trains, and and threw the people home the art in ovens. And then you hear it, see the real sticking point that a lot of people have in believing what I've been saying about Rosamond, her career, relationship with her family and her husbands, ex-husbands. Is that Walter Keane threatens to whack his wife if she reveals the secret. Okay? And that pretty much happened to me. No one's going to believe you, John, if you tell the truth. We'll just say you're insane. If you keep it up, you too will meet with an accident. That rogue wave coming for you. See, my good friend Michael Harkins, he was a detective, private detective, and he went down with me to Christine's funeral. And he offered us a service as a private investigator. He said, you pretty much stay in the background. He gave me a little coloring book and stuff, but when you think you want to express yourself artistically, just take out your coloring book and, you go along with everybody. Just, pretend that what they're saying is, wow, perfect sense. And then he goes like this, come here. And he takes me out past the washing machines and he opens up this door. And there is 2x4 shelving all through the garage, stacked with Rosamond lithographs, serigraphs, prints that hadn't sold. There were thousands of them, stacked, all up to the ceiling. And then there was this projector. Now, I'm not going to say anymore because, some director might want, producer may want another movie like this. And that's what came to my mind as I'm leaving the theater, was that price list that Garth Benton sent everybody that was on the Rosamond fan list, people that bought artwork before. And he set this price list a week after she was dead. My Aunt Lily was shocked. See, and that's when I lost my family for good. That's when. Because the dollar signs were rolling around in people's eyes. There was talk about the movie and the book. Okay. And I try to make peace with my family so I could finish my book, and Vicky and Aunt Lillian picked me up at the airport, and she's shocked, because I looked like Vic, see. Because Vic had convinced my Aunt Lillian that I was not his son. My aunt going, oh my God, he looks just like Vic. And Vicky's going, see, I told you so. So that price list, see, to see Walter Keane realizing that people are tearing down the posters, off the telephone poles that he's put up and coming to the gallery and stealing them. He started selling these things for 5, 10, 25 cents. Well, then he realizes, crank these things out. He realized that there was a lot of people that didn't have money to pay for the original artwork, so he made reproductions of them. And he was selling these in grocery stores. And this is what happened to Christine. There's no competition in terms of painting. The competition was in artistic identity. See? And Christine never developed one. And she couldn't maintain it. She didn't like to go and sell her work at fairs when people come up and say, oh, you know, tell me about yourself. How did you get into painting women? Why do you paint women? She'd shut up. You know, that's why they call her shy. She wasn't shy. You know, she knew how she became successful. She knew that Ira Roberts had developed her style. You know, and she knew that I had a real artistic identity in the family, even though I wasn't painting that much. But she'd grown up. Besides this artist, real artist, that really took an interest in art and really felt like an artist and really made people around him feel like they're part of a creative endeavor. So the second thing that occurred to me is, you know, I'm going to get a lawyer and sue to see my grandson. I deserve to see my grandson. I deserve a good lawyer to go to present my case before a judge and say, you know, Mr. Presco, you know, had a daughter who's not very real, treated him like shit, but he might still be able to have a relationship with one member of his family, his grandson, who's going to be eight years old. And you go, well, gosh, you know, you said all you vilified his mother, you know, Heather, you know, you vilified, demonized her, you know, on your blog, you know. So really, do you think you can have a relationship with Tyson? Yeah. See, thanks to that movie. You know, because, you know, it'll be on TV, on, you know, Showtime and stuff, and people, you know, Grandpa's movie's on, Mommy, about that crazy artist with the big eyes. You know, see, that's the point of reference that I got now, you know. And oh yeah, now I know why he called you a blah 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 mommy, you know. Jeez, you did you do that to Papa? You know, yeah, well, you know, well, it's forgiven now. It's all part of the, you know, the family history of, you know, success, movies, art, you know, millions of dollars, but, you know, commercialism, fraud, deceit, cunning, baffling. See, you know, and if I've been anybody in this movie, it's the art critic, you know, who's really looks like, he's right out of anyways, you know, Svengali, you know, this person that really hates Keane, you know, and his work, you know, and he sees that thing at the World's Fair with all these, you know, this infinite horde of little waif children from all these other nations, you know, coming down these steps. You know, he realizes that Walter Keane has taken over the art world, you know. And that's where my falling out with Christine Rosamond began, is when I took my artwork down there and I had to make an appointment with Rick Partlow. And as my artwork is spread around the office, or, you know, she owned Mickey Rooney's house in Woodland Hills, and, you know, there's a pool out there outside the door. And Rick Partlow takes a look around and he says, "This looks good, you know, we could take over the art world." You know, and I go, "What do you mean we?" "What do you mean we, white man? Are you an artist, you know?" You know, then the cocaine came out in the Secret Sevens, you know. And the guy that starred in the Rookies, you know, that cop show was there, and that was Rick's friend. And, you know, you know, oh, you know, maybe I'll have some more Secret 7. Oh, yeah. You know, let's get some more lesion at my nose. Well, Vicky kind of smiled and said, when I was done with them, they didn't know who they were. And this is what this movie's about. It's about people literally losing and gaining art identities and how that's done. And I don't think Tim Burton got it. And I know he did. I know that this is an incredibly risky movie to make, and I know he didn't have a lot of point of reference, even though he's reading this, the history of Walter, you know, and Margaret. He didn't have a, not being an artist, he couldn't, you know, he couldn't pin it down. Now, Reese Witherspoon was chosen to be the role of Margaret. I think she would have done a better job because Christopher was just overbearing. I mean, you know, I think he could have done a lot more. I think this could have been a work of art in itself. I think Reese Witherspoon had the ability to hold her own up against Christopher. You know, I think there's even. So anyway, my Uncle Jim Bigelow knew the Keanes. He had them over for dinner. He owned a work of art that I gave a critique of that he wasn't too happy with. When I was 15, we went over for dinner, Christmas dinner. And he asked me what I thought about it. I said, well, it's very commercial, therefore it's the artist that painted this is the enemy of art. And my uncle was, you know. And I'd seen a Keane that looked like Margaret's work. It looked like her at his famous restaurant, Cruchon's in Berkeley. And actually I admired that piece. And she was the consummate Berkeley girl. So it's been, you know, a real homecoming. You know, no family member called me, you know. I didn't spend any Christmas time with them, but, you know, today, the day after Christmas, I went in there at that theater, and it was like homecoming. You know, there they all are, you know, the wacky ROSAMOND family, you know, doing this convoluted dance for other people's, you know, identities, you know. You know, it's all thrown into this pot of dysfunctionality, and it swirls around, and people kind of grab it. You know. So anyway, I don't know where to go, what to say after this. You know, I feel liberated. I feel reborn. You see, and I say that on my tape. I wanted to say it. You know, when I opened those doors, you know, leaving the theater. It'd be like coming out of the womb again, you know. And I looked up and there was a crescent moon. I got a picture of the gateway sign and stuff. And it was just like I was born again. I was just walking around the days, filming and talking to myself. People were, you know, looking at me. You know, I had my captain's hat on, and you know, and they could tell that I was happy, relieved, you know, that I was having a very, very, very good evening. And with that, adios, good evening, my friends. Thank you, my loyal fans, that have been sticking up for me, you know, not deserting me through this longest night of illusion. Adios.